So we are coming to you again. Apparently, we had some technical difficulties initially, but I think it's because old Satan he just trying to tear nerves out. But anyway, so
Exactly right.
I was asking Dennis, you are a pastor of church. Did healthcare have any influence over the decision to go into the ministry? And you were talking about when you were a patient and the effects that it had on you as a patient. So go ahead and finish that.
Well, when I was sick so much and was in the hospital so much, I saw the compassion of the medical staff that was taking care of me, whether it was a nurse, whether it was a respiratory therapist, doctor, whatever. And so when I got to the point that I could go to college, I had to give up. I was a pipe fitter and a welder for a long time, and I had to give that job up. Didn't know anything else. Been in construction most of my life. So when I moved into going to college, and of course Gail helped me tremendously with that. We were dating at the time. We wasn't married at the time, but we started going into seeing how the compassion worked. And as I went into the medical field myself and graduated and passed the boards, I made it a goal of mine to have compassion and treat every patient like they were my family member. Still do to this day, and I think that is the number one thing you have to have in the medical field is compassion. And when I got saved and began to pastor myself, you want to carry compassion with you in the pulpit. You're gonna hear problems all the time. You got to know how to deal with them. But the main thing you have to do is show love and compassion no matter what somebody's going through. So that's how it helped me as a pastor from what I learned by treating patients the way we treat patients.
So that's so good, and it's so important because as it relates to healthcare, I mean, you have to consider that person as your family member. Healthcare is difficult, right? Because you have all
That's
these
right.
That's right.
go on. I mean, from processes to individual personalities of the patients to trying to figure out how to make the numbers match what the numbers need to be. It's a myriad of things that has to go on, and
That's right.
understand that at the end of the day, the patient is the number one person that you need to be taking care of. Understanding that
Right.
they're the end goal, and so you need to make sure that whatever
That's right.
processes, whatever you do, make sure that it affects the patient is super important. So yes, I love that. Now, how has ministry equipped you both as it relates to healthcare?
Can I answer that?
You can answer that.
So the ministry in itself, I use my profession as my witnessing field. And people say, what do you mean? And I'm not, your patients can't run from you. They can, but they open that door for you to witness to them. You can use what's happening in your life as it relates to them and help them to see that turning to God first. Yes, I am a healthcare provider. I can help you, but that gift comes from God for me to be able to help you. And I have to pray every day before I go to work. Every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day while I'm at work. God, hold my tongue. God, give me patience. God, give me what I need to take care of this patient, to take care of this family. Because it is so hard to deal with so many different dynamics in life. But if you put God first and you carry it with you to work, He's going to lead your steps. He's going to guide your steps. He's going to guide your words. And your heart is going to show with that patient. And I've actually had patients say, will you pray with me? We can't offer that up in healthcare because, there's this stigma. You can't do that. But if a patient asks me, you know what? I'm going to pray. And the good Lord's going to honor that for me. And I have to do that. I have to do that. Just pray that He guides my steps, guides my words. And in the religious aspect of it, it feeds my heart to know that I might have touched the patient just in what I said, what I've done, or just praying with them. Sometimes just holding their hand. You might know they're dying, and they just want you to hold their hand, especially with COVID now. These patients are dying alone. And just being able to be the nurse at the bedside, praying with them, I feel like can help them pass easier.
Right. That's right. That's right. Now, it we used to pray, me, you, and Christy used to pray before we went on our shift every week, and I remember that.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, we had the best time. Like that was for I remember our organization just thriving during that time, just praying literally every morning before we went into. And the first, we were in the emergency department, and so the first, you hit the emergency department before you hit any other place in the hospital. And I remember having, high influence and having just really, really having it being very impactful during that time. So I'm super thankful for you and Christy for being friends and us praying and just, just God blessing us in the way in which He has. Now, Candace, your daughter, nursing degree. Was there anything that you think that you did to influence that for her to have this trajectory in her life?
So I'm going to be totally honest. I always told her, don't be a nurse. Don't be a nurse. Don't be a nurse. It is so hard emotionally, physically. Do not be a nurse. But, I'm prideful in saying that she has chosen to pursue nursing. Nursing is very rewarding. It is very hard, but it's also very rewarding. I think having an exceptional son like Brandon, that she can take care of just as good, sometimes better than we can, because he'll listen to her sometimes better than he does us. That she has been around all her life. And then my mother, who had Alzheimer's, who lived in our home, she helped care for. Because she said she never wanted to be a nurse. She went through school wanting to be a lawyer. And in the 12th grade, she changed. I'm like, what? I mean, we had been to Georgia Mason and everything. And she was going to be a lawyer, be a lawyer, be a lawyer. And I said, Candace, what changed your mind? She said, Mama, she said, I love being able to take care of people. She loves taking care of the elderly. Yeah. And as hard as it was to take care of my mom, that just really, really surprises me. But she loves being with the elderly patients. And she just loves it.
Let me clarify something. The reason Gail was telling her not to be a nurse, because Candace was so squeamish that if she stepped on a cricket, she would almost pass out. So that's why we didn't think it would be the right decision for her to do. But God has intervened in that. Yeah. She's excelling. We're proud of her.
Yes, very much so.
Well, I think your children probably do just the opposite of what you want them to do. Because I told my daughter, I was like, be a nurse, be a nurse, be a nurse. And she was like, it's hard for me. She does an exceptional job at it. But she was like, no. So you have worked together for many years. There have been multiple bad days and nights in the emergency department where there were patients that you thought about I'm sure long after their visit. Now, when you encounter these patients, how do you dispel your feelings prior to coming home, given the HIPAA restrictions, right?
Well, let me say this. Number one, a good friend of mine who's passed on now, that was and I loved him to death, Tom Whitfield. He always told me, he said, if you do the best you can for that patient and you can leave the hospital with a clear conscience saying that you did what's best for that patient, your job is done. And on top of that, me and Gail have of course you discuss some things that in the hospital field amongst ourselves. But the thing of it is we made a pact a long time ago that we wouldn't bring work home. Mm-hmm. We when we leave the hospital and come here, of course, our emotions, I pray going home every morning. Mm-hmm. And God kind of relieves that pressure when you leave the hospital, that we can decompress on the way home. And so when we get home, it's mine and Gail's time. And that's how we do that.
But I will add to that and say, even though we leave it there and we don't bring it into the home, I do take it to church with me.
Yes.
And I don't call names unless the patient asks me to. But I put those patients on our prayer list. I ask, when we have our prayer meetings, please pray for our healthcare workers, our patients, our first responders, our police. They are just in the mix of everything. Yeah. And just praying through and adding that to my prayer list every day, every single day, just helps us get through that.
Yeah, it is. very interesting trying to come home and not do that. I remember there were instances in my life where I thought that I wanted to do things, like I thought I wanted to be a medical examiner because nurses in Nash County can be medical examiners, and then I encountered, and I mean, in the ER you encounter patients who have died a lot, right? Because of the nature of the
Yeah.
beast. And I thought that would be something that I would want to. So, yeah, no, I'm good. I like to deal with the living as much as I can, and and I will be respectful, once they have passed away. But my true ministry is with patients who are currently in distress, because you try to do
Right.
what you can in order to get them out of that distress.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Do you think that it would be easier or harder if either of you worked in a different profession?
I don't see myself working any other profession. And the reason respiratory and Nash General Hospital, or Nash UNC now, has been very rewarding to me. Not only does it help pay our bills, but you take the monetary stuff away from it, and I've learned so much with all the different people I've worked with. We are a team, and we're supposed to be a team. And we have our down days, yes we do. We have our emotional days, yes we do. But it's the same thing as being in a church. You have the same thing goes on. You have people that have spiritual needs and spiritual health, and then you have people that have down days that you have to be there for all the time. So the field that we're in, I can't see me doing anything else. I cannot.
Neither can I. I mean, I as hard as it is some days, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy interacting with patients. I enjoy interacting with staff. I enjoy trying to build those relationships between the patients and the staffs. And as a nursing supervisor, I'm a middleman. So building that gap between departments, building that gap between staff relationship, I love it. It's difficult at times, but I love it. And I can't see myself doing anything else. The only thing I could see any different would be for him to not have to work so he could pour into his ministry 100% of the time.
Yeah, that would be that relationship between the emergency department and the floor is super important. And in department within the hospital, surgical department, your EVS, any healthcare setting, it is super important for you to have that collective and shared model of what you're trying to do. I remember which is she's the CEO and she's the CEO of Conwell Health, and she said that everybody in the organization, their goal is to care for the patient, and they really take that very seriously, making sure that they are, for better sake of the word, kudos to everyone who has helped them. Those are super important as it relates to trying to, on the organizational side, to make sure that you understand that what you have done for me helps me better care for my patient. It helps me better care for myself, because our goal here at VP Nursing is to care for the healthcare professional. Our goal is to make sure that taken care of, because we literally cannot do anything unless we make sure that we're poured into. And so it's sometimes really difficult whenever you're in the hospital in order to be able to do that. But our goal here is to be able to do that. Now, this is the last question at the beginning, and this is a kind of a tough question, because it's something that I didn't, I struggled with at the beginning of the pandemic. I know that you were worried about how it was going to affect the system. What is one thing that you did to increase your faith and decrease your fears?
So in the beginning, with Dennis's underlying respiratory issues, our hospital provided staff members the opportunity to sign the waiver so they did not take care of COVID patients. And he decided he would, with much persuasion from me, co-workers, his physician, to fill out that paper so that he did not take care of COVID patients. And it weighed on him very, very heavily, to the point that he went back and said, I'm withdrawing that. I cannot just be the only one that is not a respiratory therapist taking care of these patients. My coworkers need my help. I need to be in the battlefield with my coworkers. So he withdrew that. And it was difficult for me when he withdrew that, because I'm like, you're my husband. I need you. I can't have you getting COVID. But then I learned, God's covering us. If he wants us to have it, he's going to let us have it. If he doesn't want us to have it, he's going to protect us. And we're more apt to get it in the community, in Walmart, picking up groceries, stopping at the store to get gas, than we are in a healthcare setting. Because the healthcare setting, they make sure we have what we need to protect ourselves. We just have to make sure we do our proper hygiene, wear our proper PPE, and most of all, stay prayed up.
Yeah. Stay
prayed up. Put it in God's hands and let him take care of it.
And let me add to that too. What I did was, I love the emergency department. I always have, and so when I went back, I do not take the main COVID unit, but I do take the emergency room with the floors. So I did do that. I just felt an obligation. I mean, it's hard to see. It's hard to see your coworkers coming. They're coming out of rooms. They got strap marks on their face, and they're short-winded where they're having to wear the stuff all the time. But my thing was that in the emergency department, we gown up, we do our thing, and we go in and see the patient, and we're out. And I just had to do my part, a little part. Look, we have some great respiratory therapists and nurses, and they're on the battlefield, they're on the battle lines, and they're doing their thing, and they're doing it good. And the same thing out in the community. We need to remember that we need to do our part out there to protect everybody. I mean, we wear our mask everywhere we go. We use our hand sanitizer. We do like everybody says, the 3 W's. We do all that to protect, and because we do not want to bring this stuff home, and to our kids and different things. And but God's got this. We we leave it in his hands, and we let him do his thing. And he said that stand still and know that I am God.
My favorite verse in the Bible.
So
it's kind
absolutely.
The main reason why I started the company was because of a bad day that I had on the floor. And I walked out to my truck, and when I got to my truck, I had this, I toggled to songs. And normally I toggle to songs that are very mellow. In this particular time, I toggled to a song by Kirk Franklin and Toby Mac, and the song said, "Be still and know that I am God." And that spiritual foundation is what helped me. That spiritual foundation is what helped me get to where I needed to be. But I also knew that I wasn't just the spiritual foundation that I needed. I needed to, the whole aspect, the whole rounding of it. I needed, the family, the finance, the fit, spirituality, and leadership. Once you kind of get coached in all of those areas, then what happens is you are able to go out and crush your goals exceptionally every day.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you both for pouring into our healthcare community today. Our goal is to come every Wednesday and Friday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to give you the fuel to crush your goals, to show up exceptional on a daily basis. You can follow us on Twitter at The Nurse Nurturer, Instagram at VP Nursing. If you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And don't forget about our Global Summit coming up this Friday. The expiration date for you to sign up is August the 6th. Today we have a special sale, 2 for 1. It ends today at 12 o'clock. So we only have 6 more slots, and really 3 more slots left for that. So if you want to sign up today, you will receive 6.5 contact hours and have an amazing time. Have been very intentional about pouring into this event to make sure that you don't just come and be bored to death, because we can all do that, right? We can read hours out of our minds. But our goal is to for you to have an amazing time. So go to www.vpnursing.com to register for this epic event. Y'all have a good day. Mwah.